Hey there, YouTube. Mrlubufu, continuing on with my complete set review. Like I said in every part, this is almost a strict focus on limited. Though if a card I feel needs mention in other formats, I will mention it. Anyway, here we are for blue, so we're just gonna go ahead and hop right in. We have Aerial Formation, another Strive card that gives creatures +1/+1 and flying, which this card can randomly blow people out. It's not going to be like top common level, but I think this card can set up a few blowouts. I'd like to read Strive as like cost and then multi-kicker. If you think of it in that way, like it really lowers the power level of Strive, but it's the biggest sense you can make. Next you have Battlefield Thaumaturge, or however you want to pronounce that guy. It's 2 mana 2/1. Each instant or sorcery costs 1 less for each creature targets. In Heroic, he gets Hexproof. Um, so the hexproof part is pretty trivial because they oftentimes people will just kill it in response. Um, it does mean that you get to respond to their sorcery speed removal spells if you have another instant or sorcery. I think this guy's gonna be strong-ish. Like he's gonna be okay. He's very good with strive cards. So he's like a very build around me and limited. I don't think he's gonna be insane, but I think he's gonna be strong. And I'm gonna say he might even see some constructed play because he can set up some broken things like Aurelia's Fury with him is kind of busted. Um, Curse of Swine becomes blue, exile any number of target creatures. Like you could do some weird stuff with him. It's fun. He's at least a fun build around me card. So props to Wizards for the uh, for the design. Next we have Cloaked Siren. It's a 4 mana 3/2 flash flyer, which I I wish this was like Nephalia Sea Kite size, because having two toughness, not that good in this format for a flyer. Lots of flyers like Vaporkin and the like have 2 power. A 2/3 flyer is much stronger. So this card's not as good as you'd think. They have Countermand, which is getting creative with their counterspell names. Um, 4 mana counter target spell. Its controller mills 4. I don't like I'm not a huge fan of counter spells in limited. Like I tend to like running 1 or 2 um if you're playing a very heavy blue control deck, but I'm not a fan, to be honest. Crystalline Nautilus is a card that I've already talked about extensively, so I'm not going to mention it too much in this video. If you want to go back and look to see when I talk about it. But generally I don't like these sort of effects. And the fact, like, basically the way I look at this is it's 5 mana, you bestow it on, like, an opposing creature, and then you could, like, target it with any pump spell or anything, but it's so bad to put on your own creature that you never really will. And just playing as a 3 mana 4/4 won't last long either. There's so many targeted effects that it's pretty weak. We have Dakra Chakra Mystic. Yes, I know that's not the real name. It's a 1 mana 1/1 that each player reveals the top card. You may put the revealed cards into graveyards. If not, they draw a card. Um, this is an interesting card, that's for certain. I don't know how good it'll be in limited. I don't think it'll be insane, but I think it'll be okay. Like you could play this card and it'll be fine. Um, Next we have Daring Thief, 3 mana 2/3, so it's another 2 power guy, another 3 toughness or more. Like I think that's the key size from the set. Um, Whenever it becomes untapped, you may exchange control target non-land permanent you control, target permanent an opponent controls that shares a card type with it. Meh. I do not like it. Though, you get to do some silly things with enchantments. Not bestow ones, but just enchantments. Um, because you could give your opponent the control of the enchantment and then steal control of their enchantment creature. Like, you could do some really fun and complex things with this guy in Limited, so be wary. So keep your eyes open for cool interactions with this guy if you have him in play. Next we have Dictate of Krufix, which is another pet card for me in this set because it's Howling Mine plus Flash. And it costs blue instead, and this card is fantastic for my modern deck. Standard, people are wanting to make it happen, but from discussions I've had with people, you really need 2 Howling Mine effects for a deck to be really strong in Standard. And you really don't have one, and no, I don't count this card as a second Howling Mine effect. Um, so we're just gonna say, I mean, I'm happy for the card. I'm glad it's printed, and move on from there. Limited, I don't think it's that insane. Font of Fortunes is the best of these fonts, I guess, because it's 2 mana for an enchantment that's 2 mana, sack it to draw 2 cards. So it's a slower divination, but it seems okay. Next we have God Hunter Octopus, which is a 6 mana 5/5 that God Hunter Octopus can't attack unless they control an enchantment or enchanted permanent. So basically it's a 6 mana 5/5 in this format, which isn't that impressive to be honest. Though I like to think that God Hunter Octopus, like what happened to the previous green red god before Xenagos showed up? And how did this octopus get named as a God Hunter? I think I think this octopus totally ate the old red green god. Rest in peace. We should have calamari or something to celebrate. Next we have Hour of Need. So it's a 3 mana instant with Strive Multi-Kick or whatever that costs colors blue more. Exile any number of target creatures. For each creature exiled this way, put a 4/4 blue Sphinx creature with flying. This card could do some really bonkers stuff. 4/4 flyers in this format are nothing to scoff at. Um, so doing it on your own, guys, is probably going to be more normal. Though being able to exile Ness and Asps as well. Like this card, I think is very strong, and it lets you do some really broken things. So I think this is a good uncommon, and definitely a card I have to play more to see what it's like. Next, we have what I think is the best blue common in the set in Hubris, because it's not only unsummoned but all auras attached to it. It's just like bouncy McBounce, bounce, bounce. Everything goes away. Huge tempo play, lets you do some stuff. It's not like the best if they go Wingseed Rider, Bestow, Bestow, or something like that. Um, but it's still pretty good. Like it's a huge tempo play against that. Because if you had just like Voyage's End, right, you'd have the opponent will get the 2 Bestow creatures still in play. Whereas this card is like, no, you definitely get those back in your hand. So I like this card a lot. I think it's very strong in this format. We have next Hypnotic Siren, which is a 1 mana 1/1, or a 7 mana Mind Control, um, which I think it reminds me a lot of the blue card Spirit Away, which is +2/+2 and flying, and you gain control of a enchanted creature. Um, so this card this card's okay. I don't think it'll see standard play despite what people think, even though it's just a 1 mana um, flyer, so it can fill that slot that Cloudfin Raptor or whatever fills. Um, but I think this card's okay. I think for limited, it's going to be fine. Mind Control is always strong and limited, and we can fill that slot pretty nicely. Next, you have Interpret the Signs. So 6 mana for a sorcery, scry 3, reveal a top card, draw cards. I am intrigued. Like this card can be 6 mana, draw 5 or something like that, which that's pretty strong. But it could be 6 mana, draw 2. So I'm not sure what to think of it. It's not as good as like Thought Flare or anything like that. So we'll have to see how this plays out. My gut tells me like this has the possibility to be very strong. Next we have Kiora's Dismissal, which when I first read it, because it's blue and strive blue, return any number of target, and I didn't read the word enchantments, I read permanents, and I was like, this card is so good! And then I read enchantments, and I'm like, that's somewhat more disappointing. It's gonna be okay in limited, I think, if you're heavy blue. Just bouncing some enchantments at instant speed's fine, but apart from that, I don't think you'll see standard play at all. We have Pin to the Earth, which is basically double sensory deprivation. So you really, yeah. I mean, I'm a huge fan of sensory deprivation effects in limited, so you can tell I like this card already. It's like 2 mana Swords to Plowshares instead of 1 mana. I think it's okay. Um, it's a fine card and makes a lot of troublesome creatures much weaker. We have Polymorphous Rush, which is it's a guy running with boars, and it's like, oh look, bacon. Okay, sorry, I didn't have something witty to say there. So you can choose creatures, make them copies, and those copies become copies of other creatures, and then you attack, and then they're sad. Basically, you get to turn all your creatures into the biggest threat on the field until end of turn. I think this card's okay. not much more than that. Like, you can make other creatures flying or something like that, which is cute. I have to play with this card to know more about it, to be honest. We have Pull from the Deep, which is return an instant and a sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. I don't like it in Limited. I don't like it in Standard. We have Riptide Chimera, 3 mana, 3/4, so very a good costed flying body, but at the beginning of your upkeep, return an enchantment you control to its owner's hand. So you have to have other enchantments to make this work out well. Like, this plus Raised by Wolves is pretty good, and this plus any 2 mana cantrip is pretty good. Also, the flavor text. I love the flavor text. I want one Kiora. Like the flavor text. Next, we have Rise of Eagles. So 6 mana, put 2/2/2 birds with flying, scry 1. This card's pretty bad. 2 power flyers, 2 toughness flyers, pretty bad in this format. Next, we have one of my pet cards for this format, which is Sage of Hours, which is really cute. And it's awesome if you ever get to pull it off. And it's a good fun card to play with. I don't think you'll see Standard play or anything like that. Next, we have Scourge of Fleets, which I believe is the pre-release rare, it's a giant kraken. The fact it costs 7 means it's going to be a lot better in sealed than in draft, and being able to bounce most of your opponent's creatures is pretty nice, but I don't think it's like a bomb rare by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's strong, though. I think it's very strong. And we have Patrick, 2 mana, 0/3, scry 1. This card is so good in Limited. I don't think you'll see Standard play, but it's so good in Limited. It's another top common. Next, you have Thassa's Devourer. It's a 5 mana 2/6, so it's got a big butt. That whenever it or another enchantment, mill 2. So I read that as blank. It's an empty card. So it's a 5 mana 2/6, which is not that good. Next, you have Thassa's Ire, which is a 1 mana enchantment that you can 4 mana tap or untap target creature. This card's okay. 4 mana to tap a creature is a little bit pricey, but it might be necessary in this format. So I think this card's okay in Limited. Next, you have Triton Cavalry. So it's a 2/4 for 4 that whenever you cast a spell, you may bounce an enchantment. It's okay. Not that impressed. We have a 1/1 unblockable, which people are going to play and throw enchantments on it, and you'll be sad. We have Warwing Siren, which is a 3 mana 1/3, so its body is pretty nice, and it has flying, and it has heroic that puts a +1/+1 counter. This card's pretty strong as well. And lastly, Whitewater Naiads. Whenever it or another enchantment enters battlefield, target creature can't be blocked. This card is also pretty strong. Breaks through all the ground stalls that tend to happen. Okay, apologize for the length of the video. Lots to talk about. Thank you guys all for watching. Rate, comment, and subscribe, and see you guys